we have a society that very much prizes logic. And so we really overthink things, even though, it's like your gut's like,
Join Edwin Frondozo on the Business Leadership Podcast every week for a unique program featuring insights and actionable items from the world's most successful business leaders. Hear firsthand the exclusive interviews and personal journeys on how today's transformational leaders made it to the top.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Frondozo, and on today's episode, I had the opportunity to sit down and speak to Katie Irvine. She is the creator of Sort of Spiritual, where she teaches human design in a way that's empowering and easy to understand. What's really interesting about Katie's story is after living her life, what she describes to make other people happy, and after it fell apart when she was 29, she basically completely overhauled her life, and she's on a mission to help everyone understand, to love, and trust themselves. In this episode, you're going to learn about human design, as I did, what makes it up, and how learning about your personal human design can better direct your energy that will help you lead your business and your teams. So without further ado, here we go. Welcome to the Business Leadership Podcast, Katie.
Thanks for having me, Edwin.
Oh my God, I'm super excited, super honored to have you on the show. And for those who are listening, there's actually some history with Katie and I, and this is probably the first time we're having a formal conversation, but we are in the same networks. I have good friends that she's partners with, and I'm just so excited to be talking about, well, we'll get into what we're going to talk about, but get into more of leadership and making sure that you're within, your flow, your design. But Katie, why don't you just take a moment or two, if you could introduce yourself to the community, to the business leaders who are listening to today. Tell us who you are and what you like to do when you're not growing your business or leading other business leaders.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm Katie. I'm based in Toronto currently, although as Edwin and I have been talking about, I quite like traveling. So that's certainly something I enjoy when I'm not growing my business. I'm at a place right now where a lot of the time outside of my business is very much, I don't necessarily want to say healing, but it's like a lot of like taking care of my nervous system and growing my capacity. So I really like to spend time down by the water. I live close to the water in Toronto, and just like get some time to like calm, chill, enjoy myself, which is sort of strategic in growing my business because it helps that as well. It's hard to spend time away from your business sometimes when you're, when you love what you do and you're so involved with it. But that's a focus of mine right now for sure.
Yeah, I love going to the water. I'm a runner. For those who've been following know I run. I ran the Berlin Marathon. I just did the Vancouver half. But I always make sure I run to the water at least one or two times. And sometimes I'll do my social media videos over there or share my thoughts because it's just refreshing for me, and especially living in small spaces like in apartments in a downtown area and in a metropolitan. It's just connects me as well. Katie, why I'm so excited to bring you on is I really am intrigued always for those who are, have motivations or really want to improve their business leadership or who they are or how they show up. And you are, I would say, a thought leader, a master when it comes to human design. But before we get into human design, I'd love it if you could share with us, for those who've never heard this term, what is human design? Give us the 10,000-foot view.
Yeah.
For me even.
So human design is a system for self-awareness in its most basic explanation. I often describe it as if astrology and Myers-Briggs had a baby. So, human design is like the love child of the sort of logical system, let's say the Myers-Briggs, and the more spiritual or like esoteric part of astrology. So human design in itself is a synthesis of several different systems, mainly astrology, a Chinese system called the I Ching, the Kabbalah system, and the chakra system. So it brings these different pieces together, and it's just a really interesting sort of map of who you're designed to be and how your energy is best designed to operate.
Yeah, and I love how it brings in all the different, I guess, genres or philosophies. I'm not sure what the right terminology is as we talk about it, because for someone like myself who maybe may not have the time to look into each one of these philosophies, because I'm very uber curious, and I know those who are listening are curious, and one way may make sense, one may not. And I love how it connected, because I did get an opportunity to jump into your recent boot camp, and I'm sure you probably will have this again depending on when this launches. But it's really fascinating. So for those who are curious and interested, what does it mean to get into human design, or even to learn about it, and how it would affect someone who's trying to get more self-aware, or even not even understand what to do? Like are they interested looking for this? Or is it something that they stumble upon?
I think it is something that's grown a lot in the past few years. So a lot of people are hearing about it from their friends, or, they come across it that way, where it's like, oh, like I learned my human design and it like really changed this. And at its basic level, when you're getting into human design, similar to how astrology has zodiac types, in human design, there's 5 basic types, and your type helps you understand how your energy operates. And then your authority, so type and authority are sort of the 2 main pieces of human design. Your authority helps you to understand how you're best designed to make decisions. So I often say, like, if you never learn anything else in your human design, aside from how you're best designed to make decisions and how your energy is going to work with the least amount of resistance, you're good. It's kind of like you have your own little Google Maps that's just like constantly going to tell you what direction to go. And inevitably you're going to get to that place of being in alignment, of feeling good, of living out your design naturally. So that's always like the first place that I share for people to look at if they're getting into design. But then, people are always curious. They want to know the details. They want to go deeper, as did I. Those 2 pieces changed a lot in my life, but understanding a lot of the details just gave me a lot of confidence, maybe is a way to put it, trust even, where it's like, as I was taking these different steps that were very far from the person that I used to be, it was like, yeah, but this is in my design. Like, this actually makes sense, even though this seems like a little crazy for me or very different from how I was living previously. It just helped me to lean into that and to trust what I actually wanted. So it really helped me to grow quickly and to transform quickly, because it's like these things that I'd always felt inside. It's like, oh yeah, they're actually here. They're like on this body graph, is what you call it in human design.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing. And I think from, what's coming up, Katie, when it comes to astrology, a lot of people will know their sign, right? Like, I know my sign. I'm an Aquarius. And that's all I know. Like, this is like, but a lot of people, you come into a space that wherever you are in your walk of life, probably in the Western society, a lot of people are like, oh, you're a Gemini. That makes sense.
I am a Gemini. Did you know that?
Right? No, but that's just amazing. Oh man, my daughter's a Gemini. You guys should hang out now. No, but for me, it's like, okay, and maybe my upbringing when it came to Aquarius, it's like, oh, this is why you're the natural leader or whatever it means. But I've never gone deeper. And from what I'm hearing and my listening, when it comes to human design, if you understand your type, which is I wouldn't say your label, but then your authority, that's sort of like that top level. Like, you're an Aquarius, you're a Gemini, you know this. You could get some good guidance already, some really top guidance on that. Like, for example, and this is not to get any type of reading or anything, but I know for me, we did the body graph before we started. I'm a generator. I guess it's a type. I think there's 3 or 4 types, and then 5 types, and then there's an authority, which is
so you're a sacral authority.
Sacral authority. Yeah. So what would that mean? Like, just super high level, because I'm sure a lot of people are like this.
Yeah, absolutely. You're quite similar with about 30% of the population. And so especially with the sacral authority, it's really going with like your gut knowing. And so for sacral, is kind of like the overarching theme is that if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And so it's like, if you're not getting that gut, like, yes, like this is it, then it's not it. Right. And alternatively, if you're getting that like, or like you're closing off or like moving away from something, that's not it. Like, don't force yourself to do these things. And so it's interesting because especially with the authority piece in human design and being able to trust yourself, we have a society that very much prizes logic. And so we really overthink things, even though, you know, it's like your gut's like, we think like, oh, you know, but this business partner, like everything looks really great on paper and they have this audience and they have this thing and like, I should do it and it would be a good opportunity, but your body's like, no, thank you. Like, don't do this. And so it's really helps you to be able to trust yourself. And like, our mind is great at so many things, but we overthink things and we really drive ourselves crazy with it. And so one of the things I love about human design is like understanding how you're designed to make decisions. So it's like for you, when you come across something and you can feel in your gut that it's like a heck yes, it's like you can feel a level of peace around that decision where it's just like, okay, I don't know why this is a yes, or I don't know why this is a no, but like once you experiment with it, you can really learn to trust that. And it just like makes everything a lot calmer and a lot easier to work with.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And one thing that really resonated is you know, I am not by education, I'm an engineer, very logical. But people always connected with me and I'm very good socially. But what I've been really leaning into over the last couple of years, and you just described a lot of my situations, I would overthink things and logically it makes sense, even though internally, and maybe I wasn't listening at the time, Katie, maybe I wasn't listening to my body, but internally it never felt right. And when I did the boot camp, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. Even though I was already at the awareness of like, I need to listen to my, you know, my gut, or my intuition, or how things feel, right? And it's just sort of evidence and confidence that, you know, Ed, when you're growing, right? Even the human design world is saying, let's look, you're actually doing the right thing, even though logically you could make anything make sense logically in your brain. And thankfully for Google, it could give you the evidence that will make your logic, like, it's crazy out there, right? So it's so fascinating. And it's, you know, going into human design when I was part of your boot camp, it's definitely so interesting. And it could definitely, and I'm sure you've been in conversations, Katie, where it's like people just dive in because it's so interesting. So that's amazing. For those, I wanted to shift this though to, I guess, when it comes to business leadership and understanding this awareness, how do you see, you know, within your practice or people you work with, you know, when they're looking to level up or they plateaued, right? When it comes to their successes and their business leadership and they're going, now maybe they're not going, they've done personal development. So where would the human design really complement or change the way, or even rejig the way they're thinking? And how have you seen that in the past?
Yeah, so many ways. So one of them, like we just talked about, was understanding how you best make decisions. Like that can really like expand you again in a way that's just more aligned, because maybe you're going to make decisions now that aren't just based on logic, that are based on something bigger, that where maybe you couldn't have trusted it before. So it allows you to maybe go in a different direction. Understanding how your energy works is something that I find is so helpful, especially if you're in a place of plateau or things just maybe not feeling as good as you want them to, because there's a lot of nuances in terms of how our energy works individually. And so a way that works for me is not going to be the same way that it works for you. And like, I'm someone that really, I'm not a consistent person by design. So it's like I work in these kind of sprints and then like collapse, you know, and I used to really beat myself up about that because it's like, oh, I should be more consistent, or I have to be more consistent. And when I don't, or when I didn't give myself those periods of rest, it's then really difficult to create the next thing. So if someone's like has a similar design to me and they're plateauing, and it's like, well, maybe they're not giving themselves the period of rest that they need. And listen, we all need rest, whatever, but it's like we operate a little bit differently. There's nuances to that, where for you, it's going to be different. Even, you know, we were talking beforehand about your 100-day philosophy, and like that is something where it's like going to work so well for a lot of people, quite honestly. But it's like there's nuances to how these different things play out. So understanding how your energy works, especially if you feel like you've really been forcing something and it's not quite happening. Or conversely, if you've really been, one of the areas I like to look at is what I call motivations. It's not typically what human design calls motivation, but to understand the sort of hidden drivers in you that are not the drivers that we want. So for example, a really common one that people have is the drive to prove themselves to people. And so it's like, if you have this drive to prove yourself, you're not really going to be doing something that's on the right path for you, because it's like, if every decision is like, oh, if I grow my business to this, I'm going to like prove to my mom or my dad or these people in high school or my ex-husband or whatever. And it's like, that's not going to be something that's ultimately going to be fulfilling for you. So it's like, if you're growing your business from a place of like, I'm going to prove to people blah, 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 versus this is actually something that's in alignment for me, that feels good for me, then it's like you spend all this time and energy working towards something and you get there and it just feels like deflated of like, oh, why did I do this? Right. And so I like to look at it in terms of business leaders and for people in personal capacities as well, of like, how are you using your energy? How are you making the right decisions? And are you going to get somewhere that's actually meaningful to you, that actually matters? Because again, it's something I've seen a lot with business people or leaders in general, of like, you put all this time and energy getting somewhere and you get there and it's just not what you hoped it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that's really important, what you brought up, is that downtime or that plateau, and giving yourself permission to even step away, right? Something I share with people is like, if you hit the wall or you feel burnt out, like, go lie down and fall asleep. Like, it's okay. Like, it's not bad. But like you said, we are in this society where it's like hustle, 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 hustle until you reach that vision of success, of proving maybe yourself, your mother, your father, your sibling, whoever. And then you get there and it's like, you're all of a sudden in depression. You have no idea why. Right? So, and it's, and we're here to hopefully, spread that in terms of business leaders, and not to take away the successes that people have made. But if you are here listening and you're questioning, then maybe you're not, as you would say, you're not aligned to your design, right?
And I think there's never like some, I don't know, perfect alignment. I remember hearing years ago something about like when airplanes fly, like they're more off track than they are on track, and they're just like constantly recorrecting, and that's how they get to where they're going. And so it's that kind of thing of like, okay, we're constantly correcting. We're constantly like realigning ourselves and like doing what feels good. And yeah, like go for all the big business goals and leadership goals. Like I'm all for that level of success, of course. And I would love it to be a level of success plus a level of feeling good about your success, and not getting to that and feeling empty or feeling like you just have to keep chasing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's always, I love these type of conversations where we're always looking and uber curious on improving ourselves, right? And having these type of markers or these systems in place to allow us to gain insights and to readjust, as you said, and have a new GPS system or whatever system to allow us to get us to the ultimate destination of what everyone's looking for, right? In terms of fulfillment in life. I wanted to quickly change gears, because as we talk about, human design, I know you have a number of programs. You have something that's coming out. It's called the HD Blueprint. I'd love it for you to share, if you're able to. What is it about, and what is someone who is interested looking to get out of it for them and for their life?
Yeah, absolutely. So my signature program that I've had open for a couple of years now is called HD School. And so that's something where I teach the entire human design system to someone who usually is looking to use it for other people. I definitely have some people that have joined just for their own self-interest, but it's usually, coaches or consultants or therapists or naturopaths, whatever, people who work with others. And I've gotten some requests over the years of like, can I just buy like this one class for myself? Because it's like, I really love how you teach human design. And like, I want to learn about me, but I don't really want to invest in like the whole program, because I'm not going to use it for other people. I just want to understand myself. And as I've grown, I don't do personal readings for people anymore. And so it's been something that I've been working on to sort of break my signature program, HD School, into a whole bunch of little tiny pieces. And we have this great system that puts it back together. And so that way, if you are trying to understand human design, but you just want to understand yourself, it's all of my classes that I teach my students, but just as it pertains to your own design. So you can understand all the things we talked about, how you best make decisions, how you are designed to operate, like what your sort of motivations are going to be, what all of these different energies and strengths and challenges are going to be in your design. And so it's just really this sort of user's manual for who you are and how you're designed to be. And it's one of these things where even with my own stuff and my own learning, like I constantly go back and look over past things, and it's like, oh yeah. And you know, one of my favorite parts of human design as well is understanding the challenges that we have in our design, because my challenges are going to be different than someone else's challenges. And it just helps me have so much more grace for myself as I'm going through things, where it's like, oh yeah, like if I'm experiencing this, this is par for the course. Like this is a challenge that I'm designed to kind of deal with in this lifetime. So it just really gives you that level of self-awareness, a lot of capacity for growth, a better understanding yourself, of seeing your strengths, of seeing your purpose. And I'm really excited to be offering that. I think it's going to be a really cool way for people to learn their individual designs. Even outside of getting a reading. And like, I think readings are great, but it's like, there's only so much that you can cover in, you know, in 30 minutes, in an hour. And so these, depending on people's designs, are going to be, let's say, around 5 hours, give or take. Actually, probably a little bit more than that, but maybe 6 to 8 hours. Just again, depending on different designs, they're going to show up a little bit differently. So it's like literally a whole course just based on you, like of exactly who you are. And so I'm excited for people to get into that.
Well, I'm excited. I'm going to sign up, and we'll definitely put the links in the show notes here, and also when it comes to HD School, because I know I took part of the boot camp to learn more about Katie and her brilliance, and it got me down one night just reading it all night. And funny you mentioned, you know, it's a word of mouth thing. I think I was boring my wife. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I learned yesterday. It was pretty fun. It's enlightening as well, right? But it, like I said, I literally, if I need an extra 6 to 8 hours of your new blueprint, like I really scraped the surface, right? I just know the title and my authority or my type.
Yeah.
So that's really excited. I'm really proud of you. It almost sounds to me, and I'm not, you know, putting you out there. It almost sounds to me this could turn into a book eventually.
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah. I would love to do that. It's something I've been wanting to do for about a year now. And it's just a matter of prioritizing where I'm focusing my energy and not doing too many things. But it's something that hopefully in the fall, I'm going to start working with someone about turning this into a book. So it's just like of a reference system, let's say. There's a couple of human design books that exist currently. They're not always the most easy to understand. And it's quite funny, when I was, you know, first getting more into human design, one of the big gifts in my design is being able to essentially explain things in a way that makes sense, specifically transformational information in a way that makes sense, in a way that people can digest. And I remember seeing that and being like, oh, that kind of sucks. Like I want a better gift, you know, like that's boring. I can explain things in a way that makes sense. Like, oh, who cares? And then as, you know, I was building my business and stuff, it was like, oh, this is my entire business, you know, being able to articulate this other system, because that's one of the challenges with human design from the sort of original transmission of it, let's say, is people often have a really hard time understanding it and a hard time applying like what this actually means and having it make sense. So sometimes I feel like I'm like the translator of the system, you know. But yeah, so it's something from a business perspective as well. It's like seeing your gifts and seeing how they can play out. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's funny in terms of the gift that you have. And I was thinking, I'm like, oh, Katie could be like that drop-in translator for any brand or business who's having trouble translating their amazing values and features and benefits. And you bring in Katie and she's like, this is how you explain it. just an FYI, not that you need to jump into these opportunities but you know, you heard it here. You know, Katie's available. Let me know. Just kidding. That's amazing. This is great, Katie. I'm really having a really great conversation, and I'm sure, let us know when things are new, and we're always happy to, promote and share with our community. But before we end, I'd love to get some final thoughts from you, observations, ideally any actionable recommendations that you could provide to those who are listening today.
In terms of their human design, go listen to my podcast. If you're brand new to human design, though, truly, I created my podcast for people who are brand new to human design as a beginner's resource. So if it's something that you're like, ooh, I feel like there's something here for me, trust that. When I first heard of human design, I remember it being so confusing and it really didn't make any sense to me. But there was just something in me that was like, there's something in this system, I need to learn more. I need to learn more. So it's like, if you feel that, go into it, and like I said, my podcast, it's called the Sort of Spiritual Podcast. It's a beginner's resource for human design. So it's a really great place to get started if you're curious about this. But yeah, one of the biggest things that it's like, I really would love people to just do is to trust themselves more, and I think that's a big piece of why I love human design so much, is to learn to trust yourself, to learn to stop looking outside of you for answers, to stop looking at other people to guide you or to direct you, because it's like, you have what you need, you have it inside. And sometimes you just need a little bit of help understanding or referencing your own inner guidance.
That's amazing. I know you just mentioned Sort of Spiritual, your podcast. Can you let us know where else we could find more information about you, maybe follow you, or anything else you want to share with us today?
Yeah, of course. My website, sortofspiritual.com. My Instagram is the same. It's @sortofspiritual. My YouTube, I think it's probably the same. It's all linked on my website, or it's linked on my Instagram. But yeah, I have some YouTube videos which are helpful for human design, just from like the visual aspect. If you go and get your body graph and you're like, what am I looking at? I have a video that explains it all. So yeah, those are some areas. Come hang out, come say hi.
Amazing. Yeah, and they will be in the show notes as well. So if you are interested in Katie, Sort of Spiritual Human Design, definitely check her out. She's amazing. Katie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us on the Business Leadership Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Edwin.
That's it, Biz Leaders. Thank you for joining me on another episode on the Business Leadership Podcast. This was an episode with Katie Irvine, the founder, the creator of Sort of Spiritual. I really love this conversation. It just blew me away. I actually, after recorded this with Katie, the day and two after, I was really reading into my body graph and understanding who I am and what are my energies. And it's just so fascinating. So if you want to learn anything that we mention, please go to thebusinessleadership.com/164. Again, that's thebusinessleadershipodcast.com/164. And I am truly grateful for you for taking the time to go on this journey, this leadership discovery, learning new things or new ways of improving the way we lead, the way we show up in life. So if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, rate, and leave a comment on the podcast network that you are listening to today. Until next time, have yourself a 100x day.
Thank you for listening to the Business Leadership Podcast at thebusinessleadership.com.